And God forbid the parents of one of your kids discovered how much you really made because you sit on the board of a public company and yet drive a Cadillac that's a few years old like Warren Buffett does. Or the packed double garage of things so your financed cars have to sit outside of the driveway. Tell a story of affluence and keeping up with the Joneses, masking the real truth that you are just one paycheck away from financial collapse. Maybe even bankruptcy. You're listening to Your Money, Your Business, the podcast with me, Debbie Colburn. I'm a small business expert and a former professional accountant turned money mindset guide. And I am obsessed with helping you achieve all those things you've dreamed of and thought were out of your reach, with helping you figure this money stuff out. My goal on this podcast is to help you break the cycle of feast or famine with your cash flow and to help you grow your wealth and sustain it over the long term. We dive deep, we get real, and we get raw, discovering and exploring what is really possible for you and letting go of all those things that are holding you back. If you've ever thought it's not enough looking at your bank balance or think, I'll never get that paid off, when you open up the credit card statement, maybe you're sick and tired of constantly being worried, of just getting by, and you know you're missing out on key opportunities again and again, or maybe you're done with the constant arguments over money, then this is absolutely the right place. We'll bring you a whole new way to look at money, profit, cash, wealth, tackle the challenges, share the ideas, the tips and the tactics and the strategies, and get you connected to the right resources. Think of this as your weekly prescription of money mastery development and leave the hard work up to me. No matter what's going on in your life right now, I've got your back. Ready? Buckle up, take a deep breath, and join me in a conversation about breakthrough to the next level. Welcome to episode 126. Let's be real here. When you first saw the headline to this episode, did you go, woohoo, yay, money, I'm so excited, I can't wait. Money excites me more than I can describe. Or did your heart start beating a little faster? Did you get the impulse to immediately climb up, shut down, click off? Did you think, isn't everyone afraid of money? Or think, money is boring. Who the hell cares about this? Or maybe you just had a little bit of each. According to a June 2023 survey by Bankrate, 60% of Gen Z, that 45 to 53-year-old bracket, and 55% of millennials, the 27 to 42s, report that money is a source of financial stress. And avoidance is in the top 3 ways that people deal or don't deal with the financial stress. Whether we call it money anxiety, worry, panic, overwhelm, it is the fear of what might happen in your life if you don't have enough, or you get some and it feels so uncomfortable, or have a lot. It is the imaginary scenarios that we create, we all do it, based on blueprints that your mind has saved related to situations that feel similar from your past, whether they are real or imagined, whether you remember them or not. Just like anything new that we encounter, there is a trepidation, a little bit of hesitation, or a big bit. And with money, with your personal finances and your business finances, it can be like reaching into a river to retrieve something, truly not knowing what lies below the surface. That might grab your hand like a crocodile, that might attach to your hand like a couple of leeches, or what might invisibly get under your skin. Ooh! Because most of us were taught that you don't talk about your money with anyone. Because what will people think of you or your family? And instead, our parents peppered us with phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford it, I don't know how we're going to pay for this, I don't know how we're going to get through the month, it's a waste of money, we're barely getting by. And like, there's thousands and thousands of them that just come out unconsciously, instilling a subliminal negative story in us about all the things money related, that there will be never enough, no matter what your income level. And the granddaddy of all, the misquote from the Bible, money is the root of all evil. Even our corporations and our businesses threaten to fire us if we told anyone what we or our business made. And God forbid the parents of one of your kids discovered how much you really made because you sit on the board of a public company and yet drive a Cadillac that's a few years old like Warren Buffett does. Or the packed double garage of things so your financed cars have to sit outside of the driveway, tell a story of affluence and keeping up with the Joneses, masking the real truth that you are just one paycheck away from financial collapse, maybe even bankruptcy. I am scared to talk to anyone about it. Money, personal finances, money problems, cash flow issues in your business, debt. That is the thinking behind so many people. They're just so scared to open up and share what is really going on. When I first changed the direction of my life, I dived into learning everything I could about the mob, but mafia, and money laundering, and I joined the CFEA, the Certified Fraud Examiners Association. I was wickedly curious about why and how people destroy their lives when a lot of money comes into their lives. Rarely in one big swoop, but in the little, seemingly insignificant decisions with money. And a lot is a really individual phrase for people. I know that now. It's unique to everybody. A lot could be, sometimes it's just $500. Sometimes it's $500,000. Sometimes it's $5 million or anything in between. And sometimes it's like with every single transaction that there is a reaction, every single email transfer, every single Venmo payment, drive-through purchase, Amazon order, big hire. Sometimes it's a little more sporadic, but there's always a pattern to it. It was the start of my search for what was behind my very, very poor choice. And as soon as I discovered that it wasn't one thing, it wasn't a bad decision that one day, maybe had the wrong coffee or something. It was a story that I'd been told and bought into. No questions asked. And if you remember, my story was I was only good enough for used or hand-me-downs. Fundamentally, that was the story. And without any other influence to compare it against, and I'm not just talking about me, guys, I'm talking about people, whether it's you listening, whether it's somebody that you in your family or your friends or a coworker, without any other influence to compare against, those stories stand on their own. Without enough pain or suffering, that's the joys of being middle class, which encompasses more than half of the world, maybe even 75% of the world. Those stories stand alone, and without accountability or passionate goals pulling us forward, pulling me forward, those stories drove my life, and they drive the lives of people around. It's shocking when you start getting into this area, that you start hearing and seeing things, and it is just so very, very obvious. And my vision is for generations that I will never be around to see that scarcity mindset has been greatly reduced. I was thinking last night, I'm in the online space. I do speaking events. I have courses. I have a lot of free stuff out there, a lot of valuable content. But I was thinking of an interview that I heard heard on Ramit Sethi's podcast, an interview he'd done with a younger woman in her late 20s, making $400,000 a month. And I'm thinking, yeah, we see these stories and it's compounding that scarcity mindset because the comparison is so big. But the reality is that that's not sustainable. In another conversation I had just recently with another high performance coach, we were talking about how over the last 12 years or so, there have been two major events that have propelled a disproportionate amount of earnings, of income, of revenue, because they were one-time events. But when you're looking at it in comparison, when you don't have barely enough money to, there's always that stress sitting over top of your body and you see that in media. It's hard to ignore that, but that's not real. It's not really real. Now, the first client case I ever worked on was a murder case when I joined the CFEA, an Ontario Provincial Police. So that's like the state police in the US or the RCMP or something like that. No matter where you are, was an officer and his wife, small town, really small town, and the police pension fund. And he was the pension administrator. And yeah, he got discovered by his wife. Who? Well, clearly money wasn't being discussed openly and freely at the dinner table. And the case, I remember this so distinctly. The case almost got swept up as a simple DV, a domestic violence case. And I've always wondered, what would have happened if it was today? Where we're starting to open up about our money struggles and the perpetual worry and looking for help and guidance from others instead of being cocooned. And that almost every argument in a relationship about money today and all the way through, there's a guy on Instagram, his name is Dr. Divorce, I think. If you know him, ask him to get in touch with me because I so want to get him on the podcast, because almost every argument in a relationship about money is almost never really about money. It's about trust. What would have happened if this police officer if he'd been able to say to his wife, "We're having troubles making ends meet. Let's brainstorm some ways that we can get out from under this black shroud that's keeping me up at night, that's giving me all these sleepless nights." At first glance, you could likely look around your business colleagues, friends, and even family and know their professions and businesses and make the assumption that because in your circle you're all smart, you're well educated, and made or make good or great money, had that car, the SUV in the driveway, that your money life was perfect. Maybe you even have hundreds of thousands, even $1 million-ish in savings or investments. Maybe tucked away for retirement. You might be able to assume that none of you ever struggled month to month, never had a call from a collection agency, never had an argument with your wife, your husband, your partner, or your kids over money. And we all know that would be complete BS, bullshit. You know that, don't you? Deep down, even if you can't say it out loud, you know that the majority of your neighbors are in the same situation, especially if they're between 30 and 55, Gen Z and older millennials. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones. That's what the media calls you, right? One of the boomers who have 2 or 3 homes, no mortgage, driving the Mercedes or Audi. You got lucky when the high-tech boom went going. You busted your ass with 16-hour days. You bought into the Freedom 55. You dived into David Bach's Latte Factor stuff. you guys are the ones that are being blamed for the younger generations not being able to buy a home. And even if you are one of the lucky ones, and I don't like that term, but I'm going to use it because that's what's out in the public realm, retirement isn't all it's cut out to be. Because now it's a life of living so that you outlive your money. Fingers crossed that the stock market and the investments don't nosedive like they did in 2008 and 2009. No matter where you sit on this scale, for most people, those money things, those past decisions, a past event, no matter how big or small, the feedback of your, let's call it money handling, from those around you, even parents and siblings, create either big T or little t trauma. Financial trauma is as real as any other type of trauma. And the fear of money in today's episode arises out of the little t trauma. Everyday life. I met a professional lady a couple of years ago whose big mistake, mega bad judgment call, was taking money for operational expenses from the client trust account. The client's money, not hers. In every legal firm around the world, there are two types of bank accounts. Operating accounts for the operating and for the revenue and the operating expenses of the business, and the trust accounts, money that is being held for clients that can only be used to pay client expenses and to receive and disperse direct amounts related in a client transaction, like a house purchase, a divorce. This woman, more than 10 years later, she has and can only handle no money in her bank account, business or personal. It's the same story. She doesn't want to make a lot of money because she has a fear of money. She is scared of money. What might happen if she gets it? I know the exact feeling. For me, it was well hidden under the title Fear of Success. And I work on my money relationship every day now. Is money my best friend? No, there are some days that I really struggle to even be mild acquaintances with it. But the majority of days, yeah, it is. Here's the thing. It shows up in 4 areas of your money life and in your personal finances and in your business decisions and your actions. Earnings and income, savings, spending, and investing and gifting. It can be in all 4, but more commonly it's in 2, sometimes 1 or 3. And there is almost always what I call a knee-jerk. Get an improvement in one and you flip-flop to the extreme in another. So an example of that might be, let's say you get a $5,000 tax refund and it's sitting uncomfortably in the bank. You're like, oh my God, I got this money. What am I going to do with it? And you have some bills or loans that are due, but you can't bring yourself to let go of the savings. So now you have savings, that $5,000 tax refund money sitting in your bank account, and you also have outstanding bills that have now gone past the pay-by date, creating more stress because you're literally waiting for the other shoe to drop, as the term goes. That unexpected bill or expenses that has always shown up, that pattern that you've seen. Does that make sense? You guys follow me along what happens? So it's a weird scenario and it's a tough one to catch, but once you catch it, because a trick to this is, number one, if you get a big tax refund, let's say it's a $5,000 tax refund, absolutely earmark a small mark of that for fun. You know, you could take $500 out of that. You might even, which is 10%. I think that's a perfect number. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you have a fear driving you, that money is in there and you're like, oh, I gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta buy this, buy that. Things that you, 2 days earlier, you had no intention of doing. that is you trying to get rid of your money really fast. That is because technically you have upper limited in your bank account, but it is a fear of money. And then what happens? So we've got you along, you're sitting there, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then the dam breaks, and you find a way to get that new money down to a level that's no longer uncomfortable. That's what I'm talking about. You go buy this, and you go buy that, and you go buy this, and you go buy that, you go buy this, and all of a sudden it's down. Instead of $5,000 sitting in your savings account, it's sitting at $750 because that's your comfort number. And again, that can change, right? Little by little, you can dial it up, $10 by $10 by $10, every week, every month, whatever. That's the fear of money. Fear you'll run out, that it's not enough, that you'll lose it, that you'll have something you don't want to, you'll have to do something you don't want to do, that you'll lose your freedom. And it's illogical, and it's simply human nature. Here's another great one. So you want to charge $10,000 for a contract, or someone offers you $120,000 per year, and it's an amazing opportunity, but you waffle. It's the big, scary decision. You're afraid of what people will think. They'll think you're doing something wrong, or your mind is telling you they'll think you're just another greedy business owner, or that you're unqualified, or that you got it because of your connections. Fear can start slowly or be event triggered, from big things to small things that might not even be related to money. So you got that? You're waffling. That's you being scared of the money. Something is saying, I don't want it because. I can't have it because. The types of things I'm talking about, little or big traumas, and that's truly individual, like being ripped off or scammed, a business failure, a layoff or being fired, something stolen from you, feeling like you've been taken to the cleaners in a divorce or child custody or family support case. The number of men, single dads, that are suffering from, why do I even bother trying? Because she, the ex, just gets it all? That is fear of money. Now, I've had at least 4 of those. So I lost $3,000 in a rental scam when I had just sold my home in Georgia and had almost $60,000 US in the bank. And at that time, that was $87,000 Canadian. And I was trying to find a new home. You know, I'm a original digital nomad. I live a wanderlust, peripatetic lifestyle. So I was looking for a new base. Now, I could have transferred that back to a Canadian dollar bank account. And believe me, I thought about that many, many times over a series of months. I had just sold my house in Georgia because it was 100% ROI. Imagine that, 100% ROI, not because of the change in the real estate market, but simply due to the change from the Canadian dollar. When I bought the house, the Canadian dollar was 20% higher than the US dollar. Like, people don't even believe that was the case, but it was in, it was in 2009 and 2010. And then I decided to sell it because it had flip-flopped, and the US dollar was 33% stronger than the Canadian dollar. And that gave me a profit solely on what is called financial hedging. It is a paper gain. It is what the multimillionaires and billionaires play with. And I had that opportunity because I understood what it was, because of my background as a professional accountant. That rental scam, that loss of $3,000 triggered a total lack in myself and in money, and I ended up spending 3 years floating around without a permanent place of my own as a result. I couldn't trust me or anyone who was renting. In fact, as we were working on getting this new most amazing house for me, my son, and my 2 grandkids, I felt that fear pop up more than once. Not as strong. It was just there. I was aware of it, but I shut it down. I was aware of the prominence of rental scams in 2023. And believe me, more than 50% of the population has been scammed in some way. It might not be a rental scam, but it is, again, another area where people are hesitant to talk about it. And because of my experience with a rental scam, I chose to use a realtor. And I only looked at one property management company listing that was on Facebook Marketplace. And even now, I am not convinced that they weren't an elaborate scam, since I couldn't find them anything about their business name, listing, anything like that on Google. And when I asked, they very much resisted multiple times sending me their business details and their HST, their tax number. That was number one. Number two, my business, The Summit, my 7,000 square foot training facility, it literally collapsed. That business collapsed just after I'd bought a 12-acre piece of land to build an amazing new facility on. After our landlord sold the building that we were renting out from under us with no notice, despite being on a multiple-year lease while I was away in Hawaii. That didn't cause the collapse, but when the presenter of the 4-day event I was hosting, that I'd worked for 2 years to get her agree to choose us over far more experienced hosts, that was on target. That event, one single event, was on target for a profit of $70,000 over 4 days. She committed suicide a couple of months before the event. That rocked me. That is trauma with a middle-sized T. I've had 3 bicycles stolen when they were my only mode of transportation. And that led to a belief that when I buy something important, it will always be taken from me, like the 2 cars I had repossessed and my Acura Integra that I gave up at the police impound because I couldn't afford the insurance. I am not unusual. If we were honest and we shared our experiences with money and finances, you would find that a lot of people have this type of stuff in their background. I got 2 kids, all of the debt, and absolutely no assets of value from my divorce. I got all the bad shit. Well, except I didn't get him. Fear of money is a symptom of an unhealthy relationship with money. And while you may just have listened to all of that and thought, damn, Debbie, what the fuck is the matter with you? That is over 50 plus years, and without having taken a deep and intense look at my life, my habits, my decisions, and my patterns, they could easily just appear as something that happens in life. Rough patches is what we call them, right? Fear of money always shows up in your bank account from your current actions and your habits and your thoughts. It shows a lack of trust in yourself and in your willingness to part healthily with your money. It becomes your proof that you'll never get ahead, that the system is unfair, unjust. Just look at the thousands of comments on posts on social. Woe is me, the government is stealing from me, greedy bastards. And it shows up simply by not showing up. You block all routes for money to show up in your life. If I don't find even one loose coin or bill in a week, that is one of my signs that I'm blocking, resisting, letting more money into my life from any legal source. You can be an exceptional money manager, accountant, financial advisor, hedge fund person, venture capitalist, and do spectacular things with your clients' money. But when it comes to your personal world, well, it sucks, can describe it. And as every supportive group or community knows, talking about stuff, having support, community, open, non-judgmental dialogue, being able to open up can dramatically improve and change the trajectory of your life. If you can't afford that dinner out with friends or the gas to get there without worrying about how it'll impact your other money commitments, then say, I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me, and let's find something that does. If you're struggling to find a job or a source of income, ask yourself, why am I unwilling to take a job that pays whatever, even just for 6 months or a year? Am I really that afraid of money? Does money really scare me that much? And then look at your bank account. Look at your bank balance. Write it down. If your debt exceeds it, just put 0 and say out loud, it's not enough and I deserve more. Now there's a lot here, and my wish is that you take something away that today will encourage you to take the next step. So this podcast got you thinking you'd like to go a bit deeper on this with me. You want to figure your money thing out? I have got so much more to share with you and to give you. And you're really ready to toss the shroud of money worries into the trash forever, to stand taller and more confidently in every decision and manifest the most profitable and successful year of your life, which means worry-free abundance in life and in business and so much more. Make sure to sign up for my free 4-week course where we're taking a deeper dive into how to transform that money situation in your bank accounts that's keeping you up at night. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All you have to do is just pop over to the link bit.ly/boost-money-EQ and invite a friend to go through with you, even family, or maybe coworkers or employees. It's a great way to get a money conversation going. And the more people in your community who are shaking up the scarcity mindset, the more our families and our communities will thrive. Don't be shy or embarrassed. Pass the link on to as many people as you can, because stats show that we never know what's happening in people's lives, especially when it comes to money. I cannot wait to see you inside. And yep, regardless if you sign up for TBN or not, this course is absolutely free. No strings attached. So much value handpicked for you inside it. You're for sure going to experience a transformation in a very short time. Come on, join us and have some fun. bit.ly/boost-money-EQ. Super excited, and I will see you there.